Our next question came from the digital channels of Frontiers of Thought, and it is the following. Is there any positive aspect to the pandemic? Anything that has somehow improved people's mental health as a consequence of a slower paced life during lockdowns?
Well, there are without doubt positive things about the pandemic in that regard. I mean, at the very least, it resulted in a lowering of carbon emissions during the periods of most intense lockdown, and perhaps we're headed toward lockdowns again, and that will return. I think that the slowing of life has been a very profound moral lesson, and the conversation that I've had over and over again with friends is, when it's over, will you go back to X? Will you go back to Y? Will you go back to being out all the time? Will you go out back to this, that, or the other thing? And most of us have said to at least some of those questions, no. No, I'm not going to be going to all of those parties that I used to go to, because it turned out, after all, that my paradise was in being at home with my family, and the years I have left for that are relatively few. Now, maybe that's middle age speaking as much as it's the pandemic speaking, but it's something friends of mine have said over and over again. And in the simplifying, yes, there was a sense that one day was not going to be any more stressful than the day before, and that while there was work to be done and there were things to be completed and there were, some things that broke down and there was a leak in the roof, and it's not that every day was identical, but the days were a lot more identical than they used to be. For me, it was travel. I used to be on the road all the time. As you know, I would be in Brazil speaking to you now if it weren't for the pandemic. And I'm so sorry about not being able to come to Brazil. But I'm so glad that I haven't spent the last 8 months, week after week, in the departure lounge in some other airport waiting for my road to be called. That I spent them instead in this close proximity with my husband and my son, talking to my daughter who lives in Texas on the phone for a long time every day. That's calmer. It's more serene, and it's more peaceful. So even in the midst of this time in which politics felt violent, there has been a peace and a quietude discovered that are of immeasurable value.